So we've been hosting these sessions initially as a response to the COVID-19 corona situation. We're really keen to kind of like get you guys together, really help you to build your capacity as we move through this situation and basically any kind of like moments of adversity. So we just have a few rules when it comes to the sessions we're hosting. If you've got a drink, grab a drink. We want you to be relaxed, you know. We want you to be able to have nice. There's probably rum in there, but I have water. And if you could keep your microphones muted, but do ask questions. You can type them in either directly to myself. You'll see that's Yemisi there. I would advise you type them into Hatch Ideas because it's difficult for me to pick up questions whilst I'm doing the presentation. Okay, Shao will feed them into me, and you can also put your hand up and request to ask your question verbally as well. My presentation will be around about 20 minutes, and then the rest of the time is open for you guys to ask your questions. And we'll also want to create opportunities, you know, to make comments as well and discussion. Yeah. Okay, so let's hit this. In case of a fire alarm, please exit your own house. No smoking, unless that's okay with you. So let me share my screen. Right, so this is our special session. Hatch Ideas, how to fundraise for success. I've been running fundraising workshops since 2006, principally for people in the creative and cultural industries. And now we have a broader remit in supporting people that have social impact within their business. So we're working with people across all sectors. It's really important to be able to understand how to fundraise because it is a core aspect of business development. So we do a wider, hold on, I'm just trying to change we've already got a technical issue. Sorry about this. Hold on. There we go. So we provide broad business development support and fundraising is just a section of it. And we cover the whole fundraising spectrum. So just a little bit about Hatch. We support people to hatch their ideas. And that's supporting them from concept development to piloting, and then also training. We do a lot of training programs, a lot of networking, helping people to build their networks and to develop their partnerships. We do a lot of business mentoring and coaching towards supporting people to access the finance that they need. We work either one-to-one with people, bespoke with small businesses, but we also deliver a lot of our sessions on behalf of organizations such as the Goethe Institute in Germany, Institut Français, British Council, and currently we're working with Old Mutual in Zimbabwe to develop incubation business training hubs. So that's a little bit about us. So let's get into the meat of it. How to fundraise for success. For me, fundraising is a system, it is a process, it's a method. It's taken me quite a number of years to develop the system, but it's proven very successful for Hatch. And I'm really, really happy to share some of this insights with yourselves so that it can really help you to be able to increase your chances of being able to raise funds. In this current time, you guys have put in so much effort and so much work into your businesses. You should not have to fall out because of the incompetencies of your respective governments. So my hope is that we can put together these sessions to be able to give you guys the support and the strong foundations that you need to be able to weather the situation. Okay, so let's set the scene. Who are the funders? Typically, you will all be looking at various different things, okay? Because you are all needing money for different aspects of your project or your business, okay? So who are the funders? You're the first one. We all know this, but you have to recognize yourself as a funder. We typically don't do that. We don't write agreements to ourselves, and we don't actually have a negotiation with ourselves in terms of how much money we're going to invest into the initiative or the project. So you are the first funder, and everything that we go through during the session is also applicable when you are giving money to yourself. Friends and family, that's another place that people go to. It's always met with negativity because people tend to approach their friends and family without a process and a system. So once we go through this session, apply this methodology to how you would approach your friends and family, and then hopefully they become actually regular funders for whatever projects or initiatives that you have. The one that we do know very well is trusts and foundations grants. And then there's individual giving, crowdfunding. So I should have done / crowdfunding, but that's donations. And that would be a system that you can create, a formalized, much more structured system. And then we have angel investors. Lots of people have heard this term, who will invest and require some kind of share, return, or stake in your business. And then banks. We're all very familiar with banks, loans, interest. Again, people have their own experiences of raising finance from banks. So these typically are the people that give money. So let's go a little bit deeper into who they are and how they give money. So we've got funders, and they typically grants and donations. So I've put, you can see the people that you can ask grants and donations from is either through crowdfunding, friends and family, trusts and foundations, or yourself, okay? You know, you are your biggest donor. Much of this money is restricted use of money, so you can only use it for a specific thing. There is always going to be a strict criteria around it, meaning that you have to be aged between a certain age, you have to be a specific gender, you have to be in a specific part of the country, you have to be within a specific sector, you have to be supporting a specific aim, yeah? So really strict, you have to apply by a certain deadline. These are really, really strict. They're very important, and they have very, very clear criteria. Slow turnaround to receive the funds. Sometimes, you know, you apply and it will take maybe minimum at best 3 months, anywhere to, you know, 6 months. But by the time, you know, you need to plan very well in ahead in order to receive grant money. By the time you start your process, it might be that you are delivering a project that's I'd advise that you're delivering a project that's 9 months into the future, as opposed to using a grant to deliver something that you want to deliver in the next 2 months. You don't have to pay the money back. So they are supplying you with money in order to achieve what it is that you're trying to do. The return is actually measured on impact. So what it is that the change that they want to see happen. So it might be that they want young people to have more extracurricular activity. So you'll be measured on how much or how many hours, as opposed to being measured on giving them money back. So the application process is competitive because there's only a certain amount of money, and they really, really need to achieve the aims that they've set out and put out into the world. So again, so grants and donations are quite competitive. What funders want to know? They want to make sure that you meet their criteria. So if their criteria is that they want more people to access the arts, they're not going to give you money if you are supporting people to access more food. Yeah. So that's quite clear with grants. In terms of loans and debt equity, so here we have, so the people that typically give this type of money are banks, again, yourself, friends and family, trusts and foundations. This is a much more unrestricted use of money that can fall in line with the needs of your business plan. And so you can use that money in different areas of your business in a much more fluid way than with a grant, where you have to specifically use it for an actual initiative or project that has been signed off with the funder. It can be a quick turnaround to receive the funds. So at the point at which they say yes, you can literally get the money quite quickly, and the checks and balances have already been done beforehand. The money that you'll receive will be in phases, but once you get to know more about investment, you'll start to understand that it's actually quite helpful getting the money in bits and pieces as you go along, as opposed to getting all the money in one go. The money must be paid back in interest. So it's not necessarily they're going to be measuring you on how many young people you supported with extracurricular activities over a 3-month period. What they're going to be looking at is how much profit, how much extra money you have been able to make. The application process is so with the lenders, with the like loans from banks and stuff, the application process is standardized. So what you have is, you typically go to the bank, or you go online these days, actually. You fill in the form and it comes back and says yes or no. Yeah. It says you can borrow between this amount and this amount. It will say you have to pay back this specific amount of interest. It's a very specific way to get money. You're either in or you're out. The criteria is quite well understood by both parties. And so, so lenders are a very quick way to get money if you can show that you are credit worthy. Yeah. And then you can use the money as you like to support your business. And, just as long as you stick with their repayment plan. Okay. It's not a situation whereby you're necessarily having to prove any targets. They just need to see that they get their money back. Yeah. So the only nuance with the equity aspect of it is that they will potentially want to be involved in understanding a bit about your business, but typically they just want to see their money back with interest. So investors, now this one's more of the partnership. So we've got angel investors, banks, and trusts and foundations. So it's a little bit restricted, the money, because you negotiate why you need the money from them. So it's like, we need money from you in order to develop this new service. So they want to see this new service actually happen. Yeah. Again, staggered receipts of funding. With loans, you can get it all in one go. With debt, you can get it in staggered as well. There's a little bit of a crossover with debt and debt equity, yeah? But that comes naturally as soon as you start having a conversation with the loan, with the person who is giving you the funding. You start to have a better understanding of how they disperse the money. So flexible repayment terms, you can negotiate, unlike with a loan, whereby you have to give the money back on this day, whenever. With investor, you can actually decide and negotiate the repayment terms. So it could be like, we won't pay you back for like 3 years, and then we will start to give you back money in dividends or shares, every year, once you've had a look at the business balance sheet. Then the application process is quite personalized. So you typically will have pitching, and you get to know the person who's giving you the money, and they're typically more interested in your long-term goals. So they're investing in you, they're investing in the business. Can it actually bring the profits and the money that it says it can? Can it have the impact that the business is claiming that it can have? So that's just a little understanding of the different breakdowns of the funders. So this one here, we're going to look at very quickly, is like why they fund. Over the years, it's become very clear to me that people give you money for four main things. I'm sure there's more, but from our experiences, this is the kind of ways to bring about change. So when you are applying for money from someone, they're not giving you the money because they think you're amazing. They're giving you the money because you can facilitate something for them. And I think that's one of the most important things. You have to understand you are helping them to make their money work, either to bring about change, ends to world hunger, you know, to meet their business objectives, for them to be able to get 5,000 more followers. It could be that there's a need in society. So right now we're doing a project where a lot of the children in Nigeria are out of school. Well, not a lot, all the children in Nigeria are out of school. And so there's quite a lot of corporates. So there's a lot of need for supporting the children with their education as they're out of home. So there's a need in society. And we've been able to do raise quite a substantial amount of funding, because we've come up with a solution to support children with their education whilst the schools are shut. So as soon as you are able to meet a need in society, you will get money quite quickly. When you're looking at it from your point of view, like, oh, I'm doing this because it's because what we want to do, is much, the tension will start to show, yeah? So you are there to provide a service actually to the funder and to create a legacy. A lot of funders actually provide money. So if they're called foundations, Bill and Thingy Gates Foundation, you know, there's quite a lot of foundations now popping up across Africa. And, you know, there's always been a traditional place of funding. I think it's probably one of the oldest forms of providing funds, you know, right through to the Renaissance, where, you know, they'd have these foundations because they wanted the legacy, they wanted to be remembered, they wanted to hold on to their wealth. So if you are creating an initiative that's going to make these guys look glorious and, you know, show that great impact of how they're going to spend them, so how their name is going to be spread around the world, then you're much more likely to get the grants. So the process, so this is the meat of it, right? Let's get to it. So I've set the scene. I hope that the preamble has been, you know, helpful for you to have a really better, more comfortable understanding of the funding landscape. So the process, right? What you really need, this is where you have to really do the work. You need to know what you want funding for, why you need funding, and how much money you need. You need to know what you need money for. So do you need money in order to start up your business? Do you need money for a workshop, delivery of a workshop? Do you need money to go to a trade show in Berlin in order to attract more buyers? Do you need, you know, you need to be really specific. You need to know, right? So now I know that I need to go to this trade show in Berlin in order to attract more. So, you know, I'm going to Berlin. Why am I doing it? If I go to Berlin to go to this trade show, I'll be able to find more customers. If I find more customers, I'll be able to make more sales. So we know why, okay? Then you need to know how much money you need. It's going to cost me this in flights, or it's going to cost me this. And now that it's all this kind of, you know, no touch sort of like business culture, low touch, that's what they're calling it now, the low touch business model, you have to start to think about that. So how much money will you need in order to overcome some of the obstacles that we are now have in place? Hotel, do I need an assistant? Do I need a brochure? Do I need any kind of marketing and comms? Yeah, take time developing and costing this project. So you know specifically what you need money for, why you need it, and how much you need, okay? Because that's what you're going to start fundraising against. Then you need to start researching. So start researching people who are within the same sector or impact area that you're in. So if you're in dance, start looking at organizations that are in dance, see who's funded them. See if you are in a specific country, see which funders are there. Start to research, start looking at I tend to have like 15 grants that I will know are going to be very much aligned with my organization or what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so just start researching and create a pool of these funders. Sometimes you can't obviously always do that. Typically, when you're starting your journey, it should be like about 5. As you get more, like myself, you know, just much more used to fundraising, you can have a wider pool. But if you keep it close and keep it to 5 and really make sure that they are specific to your area, then you can do the next bit, develop a relationship. It genuinely is about relationships, especially more so now than ever, because the truth is, no one's going to give money to someone they don't know. Okay, so however much you think it's, you're just going to enhance your chances if they know who you are. Develop a relationship with them. What does know who you are mean? Doesn't mean that you're inviting them to the wedding or your christening or anything, but they get your newsletter. They've, you know, they've seen you maybe on social media. You've maybe picked up the phone. Okay, they have some interaction with you, some concept, some knowledge of who you are. Okay, developing a relation, we take it a step further because we develop a relationship with them and we actually see how we can support the funder. Okay, that's how we develop relationships as well. So it's not just all about, oh, funder, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? It's also, a relationship is both ways. Include your supporters and create new ones. So you need to, a great way to get your to make more successful in fundraising is if you have advocates and champions. Okay, so when you are doing a project, let those close to you know. I have a pool of 50. It's funny because I started this before social media, so a lot of the things that I do are actually facilitated much better, but I still keep with the principles, because even though you may have like 16,000 followers or whatever, they're pointless. You know, you've got to make sure that they are engaged in what you're doing and they are your supporters, so that when you are about to put out a new service, you are using them to test the initiative. If you are doing a workshop, you know, you are engaging with them. So really, you have to include your supporters and create new ones, because what the funder will do is once they start researching you and they go, oh, look at this one, I like this application. Let me check them out and see if they're who they are. Believe you me, they do phone, they do check around. And it's only now that I've been finding out where they slip up. Oh yeah, I remember calling blah, blah, blah to find out about you. So make sure that you have supporters, okay? Now, show passion and energy. And I think that this is where you can really top it, especially in all the fields. Lenders, I was able to get the first loan I got was 25k, and that wasn't even based on my credit worthiness, because I didn't even have any credit worthiness, but they gave it to me because I really believed in what I was doing and I really showed them the passion and the energy. I did all these steps, I took them along the journey. They even came to the first festival that I hosted, and oh, actually, let me even take it a step further. Not only did they come, I remember now, one of the bank managers was training and doing Egyptian belly dancing, and she actually performed at one of my first festivals. So, you know, it really, really pays to show the passion and show the energy. And between you and me, I think she wrote off my loan, but no one's saying that. Anyway, so, and make sure you get in touch with them. If it doesn't go well, get feedback, all right? It's no failing on your part or anything, yeah? You must get feedback, you must find out, and you must learn from what the steps you did. You know, sometimes I rush, you know, it's not every grant or funding application, but because I do the process, I can stop myself when I know that I haven't done a step, okay? So just make sure you get feedback and stay in touch. Really, once you've developed your pool of 5, make them part of your communication in your organization. Right, the process. So, right, ensure you meet their criteria. I'm going to whiz through this because I really didn't realize time's just racing ahead. So ensure you meet the funders' criteria. It's very easy. It's on their website. You can always call them to find out, okay? Know how much funding you can apply for. They will say you can apply up to 50,000. You can apply between 10 and 65,000. Apply within that space, okay? Don't get all worried about, oh my God, can I apply for the top or the bottom? If you apply for what is fit for purpose for your project, that's what you're applying for, okay? It's very frustrating. I know you see the 65,000 and you want to go for it. So you design a project to meet that. You're not going to get that 65,000. Okay. So just do a project, just fundraise for your project. Know the type of activity you can apply for. So if it's, if it's arts, it's arts. If it's agriculture, it's agriculture. So hold on. Yeah, make sure you know when the application deadline is. This even gets me. So what we're trying to do is we put into our diary when the application date is, the deadline is, and then we will try to do the application at least 3 weeks or before the deadline. Even we get pulled up by that, but it's really the most heartbreaking thing when you do all the work and then you miss the deadline by half an hour. So I would always say, try and be 48 hours minimum before the deadline date, yeah? So then you read through the funders guidelines, read it again, just really get a highlighter pen, really understand it. If you're still in doubt, contact them. And this is actually a great place for when you start to develop that relationship, okay, with the funder. Complete the application, okay, because this is, again, another place where people fall down. It sounds really obvious, but I know loads of people that will do all of this work and they won't even fill in the application, yeah? And then the other bit that people don't do, submit it. So actually submit it, because you know what, even if you're feeling that you've done all the steps and you're thinking, oh my God, it might not get picked up. And if it gets picked up, it means that I won't be able to apply again. That's okay. What you need to have done is, if you had contacted them and asked them, if I apply, and I get rejected, can I apply again? You'll know. So just go through the processes, submit it. If you don't get it, it's a great opportunity for you to develop a relationship with the funder and have a good conversation. It happened to us once, we didn't get it, got in touch with them. They actually ended up rewriting the application for us. We got less money, yes, but they really liked our endeavor, and they helped us to make the case in order to get past the selection committee. Right, so that is the end of my preamble about fundraising. I really hope that it's given you a much more structured approach. Right now, there's going to be quite a lot of opportunities coming as governments start to bail out the planet. And I really hope that with these kind of like methodology, I can't say the word, let's call it format, you'll be able to actually have a much higher success rate in terms of getting the funding and the finance that you will need in order to keep your businesses and your ideas and your projects going. Okay, so I am finished. I'm gonna stop sharing. Sorry, have we had has anyone got any questions for clarification? I'm
going this is Shao. I'm going to unmute you all, so if you want to ask a question rather than typing it, you can please ask away.
Well, I was commenting to Yemisi at the beginning that I think that it depends also on what kind of business are you planning. I mean, what kind of, like, how do you what kind of business plan do you want to give your project, sort of thing? So in my case, my biggest challenge is that I want to remain independent from the government. So
Okay.
in that case, that's the tricky situation.
Okay.
I guess so, if it's a regular, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a charity, it's a private thing, a public. I mean, I think that when the fundraising thing is always kind of depending of the government. So I think that, my question is how to fundraise a project when you don't want to be dependent on them.
Okay, so I've never been registered as a charity. So basically to everybody. So grants are always a lot of grants. You have to be a charity or you have to be limited by guarantee in order to get them. Yeah, I've always been limited by shares. That was only because it suited, first of all, similar to Cristina, it was because of my principles, but it then suited my business model, okay? And so I've been in business for 16 years and I've never registered and I've always been able to raise money. The places, not every grant you have to be you have to be charitable, okay, Cristina? So there are a lot of people and a lot of organizations out there. However, if your business, and also they've created CICs and stuff and limited by guarantee because they recognize that businesses want to operate outside of the institution. So I would ask you to look at limited by guarantee because that's still a very corporate structure and you are still eligible for grants, but you're not a charity, okay? So any other questions?
We have Alpha next.
Alpha.
Hold on, let me,
Yeah.
Hold on, unmute.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alpha.
So I had a question about how many sort of grants and funds you could apply for at any one time and whether or not that would affect you getting another one, essentially.
I know what you mean. So actually, interesting enough, it's good. So if you, this is where my maths gets broken. So if you have a project and you want 50,000, you can go to like 3 different funders, okay? Because what they like to see is that other people are investing in you. They don't like to always be the single funder. There's also becoming a situation now where they'll say stuff like, we'll only support 80%. So they're already saying you need other people, right? Now, the other side of it is you're doing multiple projects. I mean, you're running an organization. You're always, of course, you're going to be applying. So you could be applying to the same funder for 3 different projects at the same time, okay? You could be running 5 different projects and applying to 15 funders, yeah? Just as long as you have the capacity to deliver, then it's okay. And when you develop a relationship with funders anyway, you have this conversation with them. You even say to them, look, the truth is, I mean, they're really happy when other people are supporting, yeah? So I would say that you should ask yourself the question, and the question is, can you manage multiple funding? Can you manage multiple grants? Do you have the capacity, the team, the processes and the systems in place? But the answer to your question is yes, and you need to get it corroborated by the funder, and that's why you develop a relationship, okay? I think Bamisola wanted, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Yemisi. So I had a question about earlier you mentioned about the types of funders.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, yes.
And one of the funders that you mentioned was angel investors.
Yes.
So for example, what I do, I get a lot of people asking, how can we help you? How can we support you? Just individual people. But if you know somebody, like for example, somebody who has money or who is interested in what you're doing, how can you approach, but you don't know that person personally, you just know them maybe off LinkedIn or you know of them. How can you reach those people? How do you approach them? That's the first question. The other ones is the ones who reach out to you randomly and say, oh, we love what you're doing. How can we support you? I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, you can put money into my PayPal or you can do this. How do you go about,
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you could ask them the question, what kind of things do you want to support? Yeah, and actually develop a relationship and get into a conversation, okay? And ask them, what have they supported in the past? What's that relationship been like? What happened? What went well? Okay. And then you can use that to construct the relationship that is going to work best for yourself. The other thing is, if they want a much more structured relationship, you then kind of have to go and get support from like, there's loads of angel networks, okay? Because I would really advise that you get somebody to broker the relationship for you, okay? So that they can help you to put together your project pack and your investment plan, okay? And there's quite a lot of financial and technical contracts that need to happen. So you could go to a law firm, they might be able to broker the relationship, but there are quite a lot of angel investment networks where you can engage with them and they could facilitate the relationship. But typically, I would say the first port of call is just to find out more about what they want to fund, what they funded before, why they're interested in you. Really develop that relationship and talk with each other about how you want to go to the next step. So it's wonderful that people say, I love what you do, I want to support you, yeah? Engage in that conversation. Don't let that energy go, but get really specialist support in order to secure that relationship, okay?
So with the individuals who ask, I don't think they're meaning like, you know, big. I think they just want to support maybe like maybe like £10. I don't know how much.
Then you can, sure. Okay, I get you. So I think we have a major donor scheme. So what I would do is then pull back. Yeah, if you're getting loads of people, then get a scheme within your organization in place. Yeah, that's what we do. So that when money comes in, you know exactly what that money is going to be used for and how you're going to give that person a return. Okay, so put a scheme in place. Okay, you can use crowdfunding model. You don't have to do crowdfunding, but you can use a crowdfunding model. All right, so that another project we're doing, the Arts Education Fund, you know, we know that if you give me a certain amount of money, your name will be listed on our website. You will be yeah. So get a scheme in place. Okay.
So if I just Google scheme, what's kind of
you can look at crowdfunding platforms and you can just mirror the model. Okay, but just get a scheme in place. And some people go to the lengths of calling it a major donor scheme. So all the big art centers have one, and I think it's really important that you model the structure, okay? And don't be shortcutty about it, because the person that gives you £10 today is the person that will give you 100 or whatever as they grow. We did the scheme for a festival that we do in Ghana, and we had our friends giving us £10 at the beginning, and as they grew in their businesses and in their professional and personal lives, you know, they started giving us 100, 150, and then, you know, one day a friend just gave us £1,000, and we're like, oh, thank you. So, you know, yeah, so put in a scheme, okay? And another question? Any other questions? Oh, Femi, hello.
Hey. Yes, so I think the donor scheme kind of interested me slightly because obviously we operate by a different set of rules out here. So for example, somebody couldn't potentially loan me money because of the Sharia law. So generally what we kind of face is if someone wants to invest money, they kind of take ownership of your business on paper, basically, if that makes sense. So it kind of pushes you out into a space you don't want to be. So you end up becoming like a consultant per se. So in Feb, we opened our first studio out here. And we had to go, me and my partner had to go with it, obviously based on what we had financially, rather than sort of open up the whole goal, the whole things we wanted to achieve. So we decided to go step by step. But with the donor scheme that you said now, I was just wondering how would it work if, for example, people in the UK, for example, wanted to support the idea? How could I potentially make them see what I'm trying to achieve out here, if that makes sense? Is it going to be a return for them, or is it just something like you put a certain amount in, whatever you want, or it will be okay over time, you get this, you get something like that?
No, it's too much for me to answer. I have to be honest, it's too much for me to answer in this, and typically that's what we do at Hatch, to help people to structure their business, you know, how to get the money in. in answer to the question, yes, obviously, people from anywhere in the world, you need to be able to, it's ideal to create a situation where anybody can support you. The structure that you would have for a major donor scheme, okay, so you can have it at different levels. So you can have patrons, you can have associate partners, you know, there are so many different things. And what you do essentially is you attach an amount of money to it. So patrons, if you come in at 10,000, you're a patron and you will get these benefits. The benefits do not have to be a financial return. And to be quite honest, they can't be, because then you start going into a whole different set of legal requirements, and then you have to get various different organizations, yeah? But if you're doing straight up donations, you have to also register, ideally you should register as a charity, so that so that you have a constitution, and so that the person giving you money has some kind of recourse, you know, so that they can have some support. And then, you know, you need to report how that money is being spent. You should do that anyway, just to give them that sense of confidence in where their money is going and how it's being spent, yeah? And then all the things that I've gone through, actually, where you're building the relationship, become really important. So have levels, have benefits, have a structure. It's quite an in-depth thing to do, but a major donor scheme, once you put the scheme in place, once you do it right, is gonna actually be able to help you draw in money regularly. You can, you know, you're very good with the social media, so you can do private stuff for them. You know, they'll be able to see you. Yeah, I think we probably have to do a much more in-depth talk on the donor scheme. Yeah, okay. I'm just looking at the time. Any other question?
I have a question.
Oh,
Caroline?
hello. Hi.
Hi. I just wondered, you had mentioned something about the angel investments scheme or networks. You were saying that we could find those. I mean, just go on Google. Is that how we find them, or?
You can email me.
Okay, I will do that. No problem. Thank you.
I'll send you a few that we've found and researched. They're beautifully elusive. The angel investor. What we do. I mean, that I totally hear what you say. I mean, what we do at Hatch is, you know, get you guys ready in a situation whereby you can be able to communicate and negotiate and develop relationships with angel investors. But yeah, so we'll be happy to send you a few details of the networks as opposed to the individual angel investors. Otherwise, they'll be very annoyed.
Do those angel investors ever sort of switch over to just being major donors, or are they always after a return from their investment?
You'll have to ask them, isn't it? Individuals, isn't it? I think that's a very good way to find an angel investor. Go into the Barbican, see those names that they scratched out on the plaque. That's an angel investor there, baby. So that's how you find them. Okay, they generally are CEOs of all of the big companies. Yeah. So and you know, yeah. So yes, they will. They'll want to disperse money as major donors as well as angel investors. Yeah, I would imagine.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Right. Well, we come nicely to the end of our creative breakfast session, which I'm thinking we have to change the name, because we're getting so many internationals. It's not breakfast for everybody everywhere. But I love that. That was great. And, you know, I really enjoyed sharing those insights with you. Really hope that they did give you, that it was beneficial. After this, I'm going to send you guys, or Shao will send you an email, because we'd be really grateful for your feedback, you know, what other topics we can cover, and also, you know, the typical things that, you know, how did we do, you know, what can we do better? And also please do join our mailing list. Follow us across the socials, because that's going to be a great way for you to find out more about what we're doing. We're also trying to share as much information as we can, especially during this current crisis, just that will be useful to help you as you get through the situation. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.